Department of Education and Workforce, the Ohio Association for Career and Technical Education, and national organizations have proclaimed the month of February as Career Technical Education CTE Month. And whereas Springfield Clark Career Technology Center serves as the Career Tech Planning District and oversees all career technical education and workforce development within schools across Clark County. CTC serves nearly 800 high school students in over 20 career tech education programs on the CTC campus and serves nearly 200 high school and 300 middle school students in satellite programs at Northwestern High School and Shawnee High School. And whereas the Ohio economy of Clark County is experiencing a skills gap and shortage of trained workers and career tech programs can fill these gaps, especially in key industries such as advanced manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, and distribution. And whereas career and technical education prepares students for the jobs that exist today and equips them with the skills employers will need in the future. The Springfield Clark CTC is committed to helping students of Clark County become career-ready, college-ready, and life-ready. Now, therefore, I, Rob Rue, Mayor of the City of Springfield and President of our Commission, hereby proclaim February 2024 as Career Tech Education Month, and we encourage our citizens to become familiar with the benefits of career technical education and the programs and services facilitated by Springfield Clark Career Technical Center. And we have several students with us, and if you'd like to go ahead and say a few words, we invite you up, and then we'll go ahead and get a picture over here where we did before. Thank you.
Might not be obvious, but I'm not a student. Mayor Rue, city commissioners, and city officials, thank you so much for this recognition. Workforce development and skilled trades seems to be something we're talking about again today, but did you know it started in 1828 in Cincinnati at the Mechanics Institute? That's where machine trades were booming, just like they are again today, only it looks much different. Matter of fact, in 1964, Clark County was ahead of the curve here in Springfield Clark when they conceived the first career technical center in the state of Ohio. It began in May of 1964, and the first graduating class was 1967. I'm Michelle Patrick, and I'm honored to be in my 7th year serving as the superintendent of the Springfield Clark Career Technology Center, a public school of choice standing the test of time, or at least nearly 60 years of time. We are where academic teachers integrate industry-related experiences into their content, and career tech staff are dedicated and proud to share their expertise in their industries and to provide our high school students from all over the city and county with top-notch career technical education. I am passionate about and proud to continue to be part of the solution to closing the skilled trades gap in this community. On behalf of the district, we are honored the city commissioners are joining the nation in recognizing February as Career Technical Education Month. As Mayor Rue read, over 760 local students are experiencing skilled trades in one of 23 workforce development programs on our main campus. And as the vision for career technical education continues to expand, we are at capacity on our main campus and turning away hundreds each year. Looking at application numbers for the 24-25 school year, this trend will continue. And it speaks volumes to this community support for and on behalf of career technical education. Our successes also speak volumes. Over 1,017 credentials were earned last school year. The 23 graduates report 96% of them are already either working in their industry, in post-secondary education, or have joined the military. Some of them, several of those options. The same group that graduated last year as seniors earned over $1 million in buying power in this community because they were working in their chosen pathway in one of over 100 local businesses, and because folks like you believe in career technical education. This year, over 110 current seniors are on early placement and trying to outdo their peers from last year. We are proud to continue to provide alternative opportunities for these young people to take steps on their individual journeys toward becoming more career-ready, college-ready, and life-ready. But to share more of the impact of CTE and perhaps the real root of why we do what we do, I'd like to introduce to you three of our finest. We have with us Xavier Mines, Engineering and Architectural Design in Springfield City School District senior. Kayla Robinson will speak after Xavier. She's a Commercial Graphic Arts in Springfield City School District senior. And Ryan Hamilton, a Project Search 5th year senior from Northeastern Local School District. Xavier?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Xavier Mines. I'm a senior in the Architectural Design and Engineering program in Springfield, Ohio, at Springfield Clark CTC. So I want to tell you about my experience being at Springfield Clark CTC and what it's done for me. So far, being at Springfield Clark CTC, being in architectural and design and engineering, I've learned so many different things. I've got a lot of my certifications, such as OSHA 10, AutoCAD, and I'm working on my SolidWorks certification. And I also just got my CPR certification. So a lot of different things that CTC has helped me with so far is my speaking skills, my comfortability skills, and my confidence. Being at CTC, I have worked on myself multiple days out of the weeks, coming to school, participating in different programs, experiencing and expanding my horizon. So being at CTC, I've also participated in H2O, Help to Others, National Technical Honor Society, Skills USA, on a local, regional, and state level. And also, I am also a creative editor of a nonprofit organization called SOUP. So right now, the things that I'm working on, Skills USA, and also career technical education has helped me. It has pushed me past the limits that I thought I could go past, and now I feel that I am ready to go into my career and perform at the level that I'm ready to perform at the level as my peers. And after graduating from Springfield Clark CTC, I plan on to go to MIT and double major in aerospace engineering, linguistics, and also I plan to go for architecture design, because I feel that creating a space for people to feel accepted and want to expand their horizons is something that is important, and career technical education has done that for me. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Hi, my name is Kayla Robinson, and my home school is Springfield High School. My program at CTC is Computer Graphic Arts. Being in this program has given me experience in different computer software such as Illustrator and Photoshop. Being a student at CTC has helped me socially and has allowed me to be open to other kinds of people who may not look like me.
Awesome.
Hello, my name is Ryan Hamilton, and I am a student from Springfield Clark CTC. My home school is Northeastern High School. I am in the Project Search program located at Springfield Regional Medical Center. It's a one-year program that teaches students with special needs job skills such as team building, job safety, technology, self-advocacy, preparing for employment, social and communication skills, getting a job, and keeping a job. I am one of 7 Clark County students chosen for this program. After applying for the program, I toured with my dad, I interviewed with the team, participated in assessment day, and was chosen by a committee to be an intern. A little bit of background on Project Search it started at Cincinnati Children's Hospital in 1996 with 1 nurse and 1 student with a disability. Project Search has since grown into 716 sites in 48 states and 11 countries. Since its inception in 2011, the Clark County Project Search site has graduated 79 interns, 73 have become employed, which means that we have an almost 93% employment rate for our site. This is impressive considering that nationally, 78.7% of the disabled population is unemployed. Our site is a collaboration between Mercy Health, Springfield Clark CTC, DD of Clark County, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, and United Rehabilitation Service. The unique aspect of Project Search is that to participate in the program, you must finish all 4 years of high school and defer your graduation 1 year to participate. We are all fifth-year seniors. Project Search is a 1 school year program that consists of 3 rotations in various departments or at the hospital, 2 leadership weeks in between. So far, I have interned in the dietary department, and now I am in the pharmacy. I am hoping to either intern in the biomed department or engineering department for my 3rd rotation. I have mentors that work closely with me to learn new job skills and tasks that will help me become employed in the community after graduation. The whole goal of Project Search is to get a job in the community in our program. We have a teacher, Gina, and 2 job coaches, Alex and EJ. Gina helped us employability skills, or teaches us employability skills, and Alex and EJ support us in our rotation. Some of our rotations to choose from are dietary department, food prep, dish room, tray line, serving and runner, environmental services, housekeeping, linen, waste management, receiving shipment, cardiovascular ICU, central sterile processing, same-day surgery, acute rehab unit, engineering, biomed, pharmacy, patient transport, emergency department, registration and diagnostic, and histology in the lab. I have also been able to participate in activities such as volunteering at a food bank, presenting at our information night, driver's education, and I will become CPR and first aid certified. We have toured businesses in downtown Springfield, learned how to ride a scat bus, practice interviewing skills, learned banking skills, as well as time management, professionalism, and the importance of good intent. This program has helped me become independent, responsible, a resourceful problem solver, and has developed my leadership skills. I have gained confidence through working with my mentors, communication with professionals, and being treated like a peer. Through participating in this career tech program, I feel confident in my ability to get a meaningful job after graduation, keep this job, and grow as a professional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again
Yep,
so
you're
much.
welcome.
On behalf of our Vice President, Ben Galbraith, this is why we do what we do. Thank you again for recognizing February as Career Technical Education Month.
Wonderful. If your whole group could join me over at the backdrop over here, please. Thank you. Before we begin our formal meeting, we do have 2 public hearings. So we'll call the first public hearing together that was scheduled for 6:50. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Dr. Estrom?
Here.
Mrs. Houston? Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. Has proper legal notice been given to this hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 3.88 acres located at the southwest corner of East Home Road and North Belmont Avenue from C1 Neighborhood Commercial District to RM12 Low Density Multifamily Residence District was published in the Springfield News-Sun as newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on December 29, 2023.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
And moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Staff report.
Good evening, everyone. The applicant here is requesting rezoning of property from commercial to residential to have a multifamily housing development. There will be 24 townhome style units and the parcel is currently vacant. The existing zoning district CN1 does not allow for multifamily residential uses. A multifamily housing development use is a permitted use under the proposed RM12 zoning district. The Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows future character area as mixed-use low-intensity. As the future character area of the parcel intends to use the land for multifamily housing, it aligns with the comprehensive vision. East Home Road is classified as 80-foot wide secondary arterial public right-of-way, whereas North Belmont Avenue is classified as 60-foot wide collector public right-of-way by the Clark County Thoroughfare Plan. Old Home Road, which is to the south of the parcel, or the west of the parcel, is classified as a local roadway. Any new structures proposed, major alterations to existing or any part of structure intended to be occupied for any use will have to be reviewed for compliance with zoning yard area and height requirements as well as building regulations. The proposed site plan, shown on slide here, shows a total of 24 units with access off East Home Road. Since the parcel has a floodplain overlay, a floodplain development permit review will be necessary. After a preliminary review of applicant's site plans, it was found that no structures are proposed within the floodplain. However, some utilities are seen crossing over the floodplain. The site also poses some utility challenges and the applicant is aware of site conditions. Written reports from city staff state no objection and recommend approval of applicant's request. The city service department commented that there are some stormwater utility and construction concerns that do not impact the rezoning. Applicant should engage with the city engineer early in plan development process. City Building Division commented that all issues will be addressed in the plan review process. City Planning and Zoning Division commented that the parcel has a floodplain overlay and will need a floodplain development permit review since the parcel to the south is RM12. And the parcels within the vicinity show a good mix of uses. The rezoning and use proposed will complement the surroundings. Based on all of the comments, the staff recommendation is to approve applicant's request to rezone subject parcel from CN1 to RM12. The applicant's request was recommended approval by the City Planning Board. There were no questions or concerns during the meeting. There were a few questions from neighbors on what is being proposed on site, and they were provided with information on the zoning change. There were no concerns from neighbors. Thank you.
Comments from commissioners? Mr. Estrop?
Were there any objections at any point in the process before this evening?
There were no objections.
Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Sir. Just everybody has their turn. We're going to let Diana go. She's up to the microphone.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that piece of property has a drainage issue, doesn't it? There at the far corner, if I recall correctly, I've walked that area before. Was there a pond, retention pond, that's going to be used to mitigate the water issues? Yeah. So what's that blue? See, I'm looking at the elevations, so I'm just wondering how the water is going to be managed.
The applicant or applicant's representative is present for any questions on the site plan. The applicant or applicant's agent is present for any questions on site plans.
Good evening. My name is Jason Harrell. I'm with Harrell and Stevenson. We're the civil engineers that prepared the site. The blue area is proposed to be a dry detention basin, proposed outlet that city requirement, water quality. We do have to show it further south because you mentioned there is a strip of floodplain that goes across there. The physical characteristics of that flood really aren't there to life. Didn't fill it in or filled in naturally over time, but two-dimensionally FEMA still makes the jump across there. City engineers also could increase elevation across the flood.
Excellent. This is I believe the developers already had some successful development within the area.
Yes, Premier Properties has done several nice developments in the area. I'm on McCray, built by currently under.
So
It's
for
really
commission, yeah.
redeveloped, challenging property.
This is the infill development that we've been hoping for, that somebody would within the community, within the comprehensive housing. This certainly is a part of that. So I'm excited about this. I know this person is passionate about making sure there's opportunities for everyone to live in different spots in the community. Any other comments? You can come up to the microphone.
Speaker system, I couldn't understand a word she said.
Okay.
When you're talking, Rob, I can't hear it.
Okay.
It's not, the volume up,
Okay.
is not up loud enough. I can't be the only old guy in here who
Okay.
has diminished hearing. And if you can't hear the conversation, you can't contribute intelligently.
Okay, noted. Thank you. We have a second hearing after this one, so we'll try maybe to speak in the microphone. I know I understood it, but anyway. Any other comments? Okay. We'll go ahead and, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Public hearing scheduled for 6:55. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mrs. Houston? Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Rue?
Here. Has proper legal notice been given for this hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 2.46 acres located at 313 West High Street from CN2 Neighborhood Commercial District, UPOD, to RM20 Medium District Multifamily Residence District, UPOD, was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on December 29, 2023.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Staff report.
The applicant is requesting the rezoning of property to make use of existing building for housing individuals who will go through a short-term program for substance abuse. The individuals will be under 24-hour supervision. Our records indicate that the parcels were recently combined and the site was operational as First Christian Church in 2005 and was later known as Church of God in 2008. The site also housed a Springfield Christian School in 2008. The structure is currently vacant. While the existing zoning district CN2 allows for provisional residential uses, the use described in application is not permitted within the current zoning district. As described in the application, the proposed use, that is residence for individuals enrolled in a short-term program for substance abuse, closely relates the definition of a rooming house. A rooming house use is permitted provisional use under the proposed RM20 zoning district. The Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows future character area as institutional campus. As the future character area of the parcel intends the land use to be institutional or civic in nature, The proposed use of parcel as a rooming house meets the future vision of comprehensive plan. The proposed use is intended to have some supportive clinical services. West High Street is classified as 80-foot wide secondary arterial public right-of-way, whereas South Plum Street and South Lowry Avenue are classified as 60-foot wide collector public right-of-way by the Clark County Thoroughfare Plan. There is an existing rail line at the rear of subject parcel. There are vacated alleyways running north-south and east-west of the parcels, and these were vacated in year 1960s and 70s. It will be the applicant's responsibility to locate any easements prior to making changes to the site. Any new structures proposed, major alterations to existing structure or any part of structure intended to be occupied for any use will have to be reviewed for compliance with zoning yard area and height requirements as well as building regulations. Since the parcel has a design overlay, any alterations to exterior or proposed new additions will have to comply with the Unified Plan Overlay District requirement. The applicant's request was first heard at the November City Planning Board meeting. At the meeting, the request was recommended denial by city staff, stating that more information on the programming and operations of proposed use would be required from the applicant. The applicant's request was tabled by the board. The applicant then met with the city manager's office and planning and zoning staff and explained their project, its need within the community, and integration with other community resources. The request to rezone was heard again by City Planning Board in December of last year, where the overall staff recommendation was approval with a few comments. The city's building division recommended approval. All building department issues will be addressed in the plan review process. City Planning and Zoning Division recommended approval, stating that although the site being in close proximity to downtown does not seem suitable for the proposed use of a rooming house, and the change of zoning from commercial to residential is not recommended, as properties in the vicinity are zoned CN2, and the proposed change from commercial to residential would be leaning towards spot zoning. However, the city staff found that the proposed rezoning would bring in a use to the vacant property, and so the overall staff recommendation is approval of applicant's request to rezone the subject parcel from CN2 to RM20. The City Planning Board recommended approval of applicant's request, and there were no questions or concerns from neighbors or public till date. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to clarify, this is where the First Christian Church, also Church of God property is, near the ice rink. This building, I know that it's had use, it's not really had a full occupancy or use for quite a while. And will they be demolishing this, did you say that, or the plans are uncertain?
They are not making any changes, only internal changes.
Are there other comments from Commission, David?
Were there any objections brought forward by anyone up until tonight?
No, there were no objections.
Thank you.
If there's comments from the audience, please go to the microphone.
I'm probably going to ask a question that you probably answered, but I heard exactly this much of your presentation. 0.
Okay, so what are you going to ask?
Ask
me, Diane,
yeah, I'm
please.
going to ask you. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is finally a repurposing of a building. I understand. That's who is handling the repurposing? Who is going to do? Who's the developer?
It's a qualified developer that's been vetted by the city, and that's why they've applied for the zoning change, and that's why they have passed 2 boards of approval, and also, right, has there been 2, right?
2 hearings.
Yeah, so as far as the use, I believe it's a rehabilitation in-house facility, which is well needed, of course, in the area.
Yep.
Brian, do you want to add anything to that?
I was just going to say the applicant information is TM Bays Properties LLC, and then Dr. Michelle Bays. The list they're addressed out of Gloucester, Ohio. but they are the owner of the building.
Dr. Michelle,
Bays, B-A-Y-S. Oh, she's here.
oh, well, there you are. Okay, perfect. How many units?
So this is going to be a project that's going to be developed. We're not asking for bed count. It qualifies within the zoning if we change it. We don't have the exact specifics of what's going on other than their intention for the property and the building.
Okay. Well, I love the architecture.
Right.
And my concern was saving the architecture.
Yeah, I don't believe they're tearing it down. That was my first question.
Perfect. Okay, so, and then.
And they don't want to tear it down.
Right
I'm
on,
seeing head
right on.
shake right here.
Much needed housing and just target population?
So
It
this
could be
is
anybody.
a rehabilitation facility.
For,
Rehabilitation of probably drugs and alcohol, I'm guessing, yes.
and much needed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Including homeless, maybe? Okay.
Thank you,
All
Diane.
right, perfect. All right, thank you.
Is there any other comments? Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. For future reference, I don't mind questions in the hearing. Make sure they're directed directly to me. If you have a problem with how the presentation happened, I don't want you to really bring that up. If you had a problem hearing, I'll bring clarity to the hearing, okay? Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin our formal meeting. Please, clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mrs. Brown?
Yeah, here.
Dr. Estrom?
Yeah.
Here.
Mrs. Houston? Mr. Rue?
Here. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge. So tonight, we're going to be lifting up the Copeland family. And then after I pray, we'll have a moment of silence, and then we'll begin with the pledge. Father, I just ask that you would be with Claire Copeland and her family tonight and during this time of grief. Father, we thank you for the enduring relationship that they shared through the many years. We thank you for Warren's leadership, his dedication, and his focus and passion on the city. And we just ask that you bless his memory and you bless the family through their Is there a approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me, sir.
It's It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett? Yes. Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Clerk will proceed with first readings by title only.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 3.88 acres at the southwest corner of East Home Road and North Belmont Avenue, Springfield, Ohio, from CN1 Neighborhood Commercial District to RM12 Low Density Multifamily Residence District. Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 2.46 acres at 313 West High Street, Springfield, Ohio, from CN2 Neighborhood Commercial District UPOD to RM20 Medium Density Multifamily Residence District UPOD. Amending ordinance number 9190 passed March 12, 1991 and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio by repealing and replacing certain sections of chapter 1301 Building Code relative to the adoption of the Ohio Building Code 2024 edition, the National Electrical Code 2023 edition, and the Ohio Mechanical Code 2024 edition. Amending ordinance number 9190 passed March 12, 1991 and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio by repealing and replacing section 1317.01 entitled Fuel Gas Code Adopted relative to the adoption of the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code. authorizing an expenditure in an amount not to exceed $1,300,000 related to the memorandum of understanding by and among the city, Clark County Sheriff's Office, and Mental Health Recovery Board of Clark, Greene, and Madison counties in connection with the comprehensive opioid, stimulant, and substance abuse site-based program grant, and confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from October 1, 2022 to the passage of this ordinance.
Or ask for comments from Commissioner, I'll ask that the city manager would like to clarify or explain any of the first readings.
Yes, Commission. So 3 items I just want to touch base on. 027-24, which is the memorandum of understanding with us, Mental Health Recovery Board of Clark County, Clark, Greene, and Madison counties, and the Clark County Sheriff's Office. This was a comprehensive opioid stimulus and substance abuse program that we helped apply for the grant. We were successful in receiving that grant, the $1.3 million for these services. This simply allows us now to expend those funds as the program's being implemented in the community. Mental Health Recovery Board is the one implementing, so they are the subrecipient of this program. The other 2 items, 02524 and 02624, these are items that typically come on an annual basis as it relates to our building codes. We adopt what the state and the International Code Council adopt, and so this just brings our ordinances in alignment with those state and International Code Council updates. I will ask if Steve Thompson can just briefly give just a broad overview of some of the major highlights and changes with these items.
Sure. Good evening, Commission. So as Brian said, these are the same codes that are adopted statewide for building, electrical codes, etc. This particular code change is mostly minor updates. Those include elimination of duplicate and outdated sections, reorganizing and eliminating unnecessary requirements. In talking with our chief billing official, the code changes are minor. And like I said, this is the same code adopted statewide. Nothing that's in these code changes that should cause any real issues when it comes to development of both home, commercial, anything like that. So again, overall, these represent minor changes, and it's the same code adopted statewide.
Steve, one of the questions that people have asked me from time to time, given what you've just said, is the county's codes would be the same as the city code.
Correct.
The county and the city do not have different codes.
Correct. It's the same code, whether it's city, county, any jurisdiction that the state board approved building regulations division or department, they all follow the same code.
Very good. Thank you.
That makes it easier. Thank you. Is there any other comments from commissioners on first readings only? Any from the audience on first readings? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to second readings.
An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $8,565,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of improving the municipal water system facilities, including replacing water lines and improving the water treatment plant by installing a substation air brake and constructing a liquid ferric building, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto. And B, municipal sewer system facilities, including but not limited to constructing and installing sanitary and storm sewer lines, rehabilitating the city's wastewater treatment plant by replacing a primary effluent pump and substation, post-aeration gates and sludge pumps, installing combined sewer overflow mitigation and inflow infiltration elimination project, and purchasing real estate and related interests therein, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Chris, do you have anything to add? Otherwise, this helps us have flow in and out of the city well, right? Nothing else to add? Okay. Dave, you have a question?
Yes, I thought, Katie, you might explain, since this is really how the city borrows money for big projects like this, how this whole thing works.
Yes, Commissioner. So this is the 4th year that we are issuing notes for this project. We are for a variety of projects. We are not adding any additional debt. The $8.5 million is for water sewer capital projects that we've financed through notes over the past 4 years. That includes items like the Yellow Spring Street Phase 1 water sewer infrastructure, multiple years of sewer linings, and then the primary effluent pumps at the wastewater treatment plant. And we do financing this way so that we're not paying up front for large capital projects, but also so that we minimize the impact to our ratepayers, so that when we issue a bond for this next year, that repayment is over a period ranging from 15 to 30 years to limit that impact.
So much like we would normally buy a house, go to the bank and pay for it over time, that's what we're doing here to make these improvements to our water and sewer system.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett? Yes. Dr. Estrom?
Yes?
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Designating an amended enterprise zone, authorizing the city manager to file a certification application to the Director of the State of Ohio Department of Development to amend the area included in the city's urban jobs and enterprise zone.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
I'm sorry. I was wondering if Bobby might explain. This is coming back to us, is it not? Or Brian?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner. We had brought this forward under a different program with the state for certifying the enterprise zone. Bobby went back and looked at the information, was able to recertify that under a different approach.
Yes, Commissioners. So the first application was on the basis of population loss within the area. Really tough to track accurate data on that. So instead, this time, criteria will be based on property with vacant, tax delinquent, or demolished commercial and industrial structures.
We shouldn't have any problem qualifying under those criteria.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an amendment number 2 to the agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of Clark County, Ohio, for the maintenance and lease of the municipal court county offices building, to extend the agreement to December 31, 2024, and confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from January 1, 2024 to the passage of this ordinance.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a subrecipient funding agreement with Springfield Promise Neighborhood, provide CDBG funding to assist with the implementation of the Prevention Network Initiative in an amount not to exceed $70,000, and confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from January 1, 2024 to the passage of this ordinance.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? Dr. Esprop.
Just very pleased to see this come before us. Springfield Promise Neighborhood does a lot of work with a lot of parents,
They
students, and community members in our community, and we appreciate it. And I'm happy to see some funding go their way.
Definitely
Future
second
work
that.
session.
Sure.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 1 to the new construction senior rental housing loan agreement, home funded in 2022, the Community Garden 2, with Neighborhood Housing Partnership of Greater Springfield Incorporated and Community Garden 2 LP, to increase the loan agreement in an amount not to exceed $75,000 for a total loan agreement amount not to exceed $825,000.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? Dr. Esprop.
Just wondering if staff could give us a little more information.
Yeah, Commissioners, this is related to Community Gardens 2, which is the project Neighborhood Housing Partnership has conducted on the former community hospital site, as well as the former Schaefer School site. And there was some additional cost overruns relative specifically to the electric for the site. And so this helps offset some of those additional costs that were incurred by the development through home funds, which is specifically set up for projects just like this.
Because we certainly need all the help with housing we can get. Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a 3-year subscription agreement with ESO Solutions Incorporated for the purchase and maintenance of cloud-based fire and EMS records management software for an amount not to exceed $134,559.40 for the 3-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? Dr. Estrop?
I just wonder if Chief King might explain the advantage of this software over our current software.
Commissioners, Mayor, thank you for this opportunity. This is going to allow us to have one software solution to manage all of our fire and EMS responses into one database, which allows us to extrapolate data so that we can make data-driven decisions, as well as our members are having to utilize one login versus two separate systems. Now, what's unique is the EMS company, or ESO, does our EMS reporting now. They bought out our other company. So this is a single source provider for us to just move and integrate into one. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement by and between the City of Springfield, Ohio and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 333, AFL-CIO CLC, directing the implementation and performance of the provisions of such agreement and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners?
I would just like to congratulate both negotiating teams. This looks like a very good contract, and just, again, I know how difficult, having been involved in negotiations on both sides of the table over the years, how difficult that process can be. So congratulations to everyone involved for all your hard work and time spent on coming to this agreement. Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Hey, you're here for a reason. Thanks for being.
Evening, Mayor Rue, Commissioners. To be honest, I plan on speaking after the vote, so I guess this will be short. Just here tonight to encourage the adoption of contract.
No more comments. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
The next two items were originally first readings, and they've been amended to emergencies. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Brenntag Mid-South Incorporated for the purchase of sodium hypochlorite for use by the city's wastewater treatment plant for an amount not to exceed $236,400 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? Crystal?
Can someone just explain what sodium hypochlorite is? I'm really interested in that.
Chlorine is the simple answer, but I'll tell.
Sure.
Do you want to say how it works? It's chlorine at the wastewater treatment plant.
I was
So
totally able to glean that, but there are other components that I would love some more info on. Is that all it is chlorine?
If you look, it actually will just say bleach sometimes. This is what disinfects the wastewater towards the end of the process.
Therefore, it is chlorine. Thank you.
Keep it clean, Dave.
Well, that we did that if we purchased the Clorox or chlorine. As I recall, this item and the next item, we did not accept the low bid. And I think, Brian, you or Katie needs to explain why we chose not to accept the low bid and the latitude that Ohio law gives us to make this decision.
Yes, Commissioner. So we are allowed to, in the bid process, accept lowest and best. And so we determined that this was the lowest and best bid because it locked in or secured that price for a 1-year period. Whereas we've had experience with other vendors that bid where they would change the cost or the price of that up to even after 30 days of the contract being entered into. And so we did not feel that that was in the best interest of the community and that we needed to lock into a contract that was truly lowest and best for us as a community. I will say the price difference wasn't too significant, but again, it allowed us to lock in. We are seeing a price reduction from $2.42 a gallon in 2023 to $1.97 per gallon in 2024. But note that this is still up from 2021 when it was 69 cents per gallon. So we continue to see a rise in chemical costs.
I think that's a very prudent decision to lock in a price for a year as opposed to having to face the possibility of 12 months of increases. So I applaud the staff on this recommendation and I will support the ordinance.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Brentag Mid-South Incorporated for the purchase of liquid ferric sulfate 60% for an amount not to exceed $201,600 and declaring an emergency therein.
Move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners, from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. New item?
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore and declaring an emergency therein.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are the comments from commissioners, from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners, from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Pride Point Services Incorporated for the purchase and implementation of utility billing for an amount not to exceed $1,181,273.71 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Do tell us about.
Yes, Mayor. So this is the last phase of our technology enhancement project. So you've had many things come before you and you've heard ERP replacement, HCM, all of those acronyms. This is related to our utility billing software. So utility billing still operates in that black and green screen. So this contract with SpryPoint as the vendor that we've selected, implementation will be about a 1-year period, but that eliminates that black and green screen completely once we go live with SpryPoint. Benefits to the customer here, this is cloud-based, and so residents will have a app or a website where they can log in and see their water usage, see bills from the past, get consumption alerts, have different methods of payment, and also one of our hopes is to be able to alert customers of leaks.
For what it's worth, you all do a very good job of calling and when there's unusual increases. Water, appreciate great service we offer. This will take care of that.
It will. Thank you.
Comments from the audience?
Love technology, not hate it. Think it stinks. the question I have for you is what if a resident doesn't want to do an app on their phone? Or doesn't have a phone that does an app?
So it's a good question.
Mhm.
Technology is here, so we're doing the best we can as a city
Mhm.
to adopt, to help people at least be in touch with what they're
Mhm.
spending and how they're spending. I get that,
Mhm.
but just don't see the relevance.
Okay, I'm just
But there'll
asking.
still be paper
Yeah, there's,
and the
I mean, I'm sure
ability
you
to
can still
come
opt
to
in with
City
paper.
Hall?
Yes, so we still have our utility billing department on the first floor of City Hall that's open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have the drop box out here where you can drop your payment. And we are exploring the option of kiosks that we will have located like in the parking garage, potentially partner with a grocery store so that folks could make their payments there as well.
Okay, that was it.
We were never going to get rid of
Kind of
those
what
things,
kind of
right?
what I was getting at, but thank you. All right.
Sorry, you irritated me. Okay. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Providing for the issuance of notes in the maximum principal amount of $945,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bond, pay the cost of the sewer portion of the advanced metering infrastructure AMI project, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Providing for the issuance of notes in the maximum principal amount of $945,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of the water portion of the advanced metering infrastructure AMI project, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? From the audience? Go ahead.
That when you do the roll call, it's yes, 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 yes. We don't hear any of it. I'm assuming behind the scenes, behind the wall, whatever, you've discussed the nuts and bolts of how much, like when you were talking about the sewer lines a couple weeks ago and putting a sock in it. I know that process. But I would have said, how long's the sock last? I'd have questions. What happens if this happens? We don't get to hear that. All I hear is yes, 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 yes. And you spend money. If you don't spend money intelligently and logically, it's misspent. Now, I can hear my own voice. Why can't I hear your voices? Because I haven't heard anything since I told you you can't hear it. And you won't turn that knob up a couple volumes so at least her and I acknowledge that it's hard to hear you. Is that
We have somebody in the sound
deliberate?
booth. Of course, it's not deliberate, but we have somebody in the sound area that I'm sure is working on this. It can hear you just fine.
Well, I don't know. I can hear myself talking.
We're going to move on with the agenda, but your comments are noted.
All right.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the amendment number 1 to the contract with Ferguson Enterprises LLC, doing business as Ferguson Waterworks for the purchase of water meter equipment, to increase the contract and to exercise the option to renew, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commission? Dr. Estrop?
Wondering if staff might give us some additional information about this.
Yes, Commission. I'll have Chris Moore, our Service Director, speak to this project.
This project puts in place the beginning of us replacing our water meters. Most of the water meters in our community were installed between 1994 and 1996. They have exceeded their useful life. We've been seeing a failure rate of about 30 per week. So if you approve this tonight, what it will do is put in place the process for us to start replacing about 4,500 water meters per year and get the backbone infrastructure in place for those meters to be read remotely from towers.
Very good. Thank you.
Is this option the best savings for our customers and taxpayers?
Based on everything we've researched, yes, it is. This was competitively bid, and the prices were very favorable.
And before it gets to this point, you've done that research, present it, right?
That is correct.
Every time.
That's our job.
Everything you buy, you're trying to get the best deal for city, right?
And then some.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 4 to the contract between the city and Peterson Construction Company for the primary effluent pumps replacement and electrical upgrades project to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $25,517 for a total amount not to exceed $7,735,155, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 4 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commission? Dr. Estrop?
And I was wondering if the staff might tell us what is the need for this change order. And Chris, go back if you would and explain what the importance of this pump.
So the primary driver of this change order is there are some screens that screen the wastewater that were going to remain in place. And the contractor had a large crane on site that we asked them to use to lift pumps out of the way so we could clean the screens. That's $22,000 of this change order. This project is called the primary effluent pumps, primary being the key word. As all of the wastewater flows into the plant, these are the pumps that pump every bit of wastewater in our community through the treatment process.
Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Consenting to the appointment of Karen Benton to the Community Police Advisory Team.
So moved.
Second.
Would you like to
I can
second?
do
You
that.
can. You sure can.
Thank you. Just never been done, but you can do.
Are we ready for a vote?
Yep.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Consenting to the appointment of Melissa Skinner to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Comments from commission? These are folks that have applied, that have expressed interest in serving the city. So just appreciate people that are interested. You can contact the clerk's office if you are interested in serving on one of the 30 or so boards that the commission represents the city at. So I want you to know that. Comments from the audience? Call the roll.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the fiscal officer to establish a super blanket purchase order as authorized in resolution number 6152 for Av Fuel in the amount of $600,000 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commission, Dr. Estrop?
Yes, I was wondering if, Katie, you could explain what a super blanket purchase order is, and perhaps, Brian, you could speak to Av Fuel, or Katie, you're welcome to speak to it.
Yes, I can speak to both of those, Commissioner. So a super blanket is a purchasing tool that Ohio Revised Code affords the city for super blanket purchase orders, which would be a blanket purchase order that exceeds $50,000 for an item that we've budgeted for in our operating budget. This specifically is for aviation fuel out at the airport. As you know, the city operates as the fixed-based operator. So as planes fly in, they're refueling. So this is a large amount at $600,000, but that revenue is coming back to the city through those purchases at the airport.
So, in essence, we become the supplier. People who are flying into Springfield Airport will buy the fuel from the city.
Correct.
We're not giving it to them, we're selling it to them. And in the process, making a bit of a profit to operate the airport.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Are there any committee reports, Brian?
Commissioners, I'll just update you quickly on the Immigration Accountability Response Team. As you saw tonight, we did provide some certificates of appreciation to some individuals of the community that stepped up to help specifically on the driver's education side. Again, that was one item that we really heard was how can we help with the driver's education in the community beyond just our immigrant population, but others. There's some exciting things happening. If you saw the state created a grant program on driver's education to really expand those opportunities. CTC is going to be a participant in that for our young people in the community as well. So that's exciting to see. On the housing, we have had a couple additional complaints come in as it relates to the numbers of people living in certain units. So our staff continues to investigate those. And honestly, we don't really find any, we go out and investigate and we do not see that type of activity. And then as far as investigation into trafficking, human trafficking, job trafficking, and so forth, the investigation with our state agencies continues, and they're continuing to really dive deep into some of the data that they have found and uncovered. So we're hopeful that they'll be able to, in turn, provide us information that would be relevant to the issues that we might be seeing.
In the future, I already mentioned that from the five of us, there's about 30 different committees, whether we're a director on the committee or we're actually just a liaison, a voice back to this commission. We may, in the future, have different commissioners report on some of the activities that are relevant in the next meeting. So that's another way we'll use committee reports in the future. Other comments from commissioners? Dr. Estrop?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Mayor Copeland's celebration of life on Sunday, February 4th has been moved to Springfield High School. It will not be at Wittenberg as was initially announced. It has been moved to Springfield High.
Dr. Estrup, can you just go ahead and provide that information so that those listening or watching can have that as well?
Yeah, it's Warren Celebration of Life, 2:00, Sunday, February 4th, now at Springfield High School.
And also on Saturday, the day before, 2 to 5 in here, the public can see the family and they'll have kind of a reception visitation right in the forum here this Saturday. Other comments from commissioners? I have some cards. I'm going to ask Kevin Sanders to go back. Since I called you earlier, I'll start with you. Kevin is president of our National Professional Firefighter Association.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Rue, City Commissioners, Mr. Heck, and staff. Thanks for the opportunity to speak this evening. As Mayor Rue stated, my name is Kevin Sanders, and I'm representing the men and women of the Springfield Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 333. We wanted to take just a moment to recognize the city's leadership for supporting and passing our contract. Your vote signifies a continued investment in the foundation of public safety. This contract will not only help attract, but also retain the skilled professionals in the fire and EMS workforce that provide the safety net that our community relies so heavily upon. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for your work. I have a card from Diane Daniels. If you go to the mic.
Good evening. Is this my timer? Okay. All right. So first of all, I have been doing an awful lot of research, probably beginning in 2017, and of course, really took a deep dive into it in 2021 when I first saw the buses coming into Springfield. Let me just remind you that this is not a reflection on any of you, but is a reflection on what coming from me, but coming from everybody else. I'm going to read you a little article that I found a city in decline, situated in the industrial stretch of the Midwestern United States known as the Rust Belt. Springfield was once a leading manufacturing home to the major printing and machinery companies. But when the factories started to shut down, the city shrank. 1/3 of Springfield's population has moved away since the 1980s. So when hundreds then thousands of Haitians started moving to Springfield, the city of 60,000, this number is quite wrong, got the population boost it was crying for. So when people are asking me, why do we have so many foreign nationals? The answer is pretty simple. You don't have a business, you can't run a company, you can't invite an industry in unless you have people. The most obvious choice would have been to go to the Rust Belt cities and invite other recruit people up along the Ohio River. So the decision was made to recruit foreign nationals. So here we are with upwards of 15,000 foreign nationals. Therefore, I declare that Springfield's new moniker should be the Foreign National Resettlement Center of the Midwest. It seems appropriate since we have 15,000 and that makes up over 25% of our population. Compared with other cities like Denver, Chicago, New York, you name it, we have the highest percentage of non-citizens within our population than any of these cities. There you are. I'm done.
I have a card from Gary Armstrong. 3 minutes.
When I came here a year ago, December 6th, because there was an elected official who made a single bath into a 4-unit 4-bath. I find it more than offensive that the oath that I saw all of you taking a couple of weeks ago and hoo-hawing about it. Don't take it seriously. I take it very seriously. I represented 1,200 people at International in the 80s. And one thing I did learn, I don't care whether you didn't like me, whether you got in my face, I worked for you. Whatever your problem or grievance was, I went after it. And you've let me alone. You've left me to be by myself. You haven't done anything. There's more ample proof. The law department said, oh, we can't force ourselves in his house. He had 4 mailboxes. I mentioned that to a couple city officials. They took it down. He's advertising 4 units. He's got 4 units. I can get the proof. Either you back me or I'm coming after the city. And I've built houses. This council is not set up to succeed because it's about building roads, infrastructure, pipes. I've done all that. And yet we have people that get elected that don't know a screw from a nail. And who's giving you the information? Why? I knew that hotel, and you look at the tape, I said it's not the right use for what you got. The infrastructure, the piping, everything's outdated. It all came true. And now you're talking about, wow, it was COVID money and all that. It's taxpayer money, no matter where it came from. If you don't spend it wisely, you're misspending it. What is the biggest problem in this city that I found in the last year is LLCs. O'Neill and his son, they have 12 houses around my block, Fountain, Ward, College, and they have violated every code there is, permit. They've never gotten permits. I can show it. I've taken pictures of it for years because I'm OCD about when I go buy something, I watch it because I'm a freak about liking to build things. And yet you don't want to protect it. People are having dumpsters. There's no permits. It's a free-range city, and they're letting the houses being boarded up. You're tearing 500 to 700 houses every 2 years. That's a couple $1 million. And the taxpayers are paying for it. That's a big problem, and nobody wants to address it. And I think that addressment comes in what your little oath was. It's about Springfield, not just about Ross Commons, Northridge, Home Orchards, the rich companies. It's about taking care of from Lagonda, sweeping around to all the poor neighborhoods. Because out of those poor neighborhoods are some people that keep their house and maintain it. And yet you're not enforcing the ordinances. You're not going in there and taking care of the business.
We are, but I'm not going to argue with you. Thanks for your comments. They're noted. Steve made notes, I'm sure, in his mind on what we can take care of. But I think we're doing the best we can, and we're not ignoring those things that you think we're ignoring. Okay. I don't think there's a comment.
Well, I
don't think it's necessary.
I disagree. I disagree.
I'm just going to let Otis. Thank you. Okay.
Otis Williams, 1627 Yorkshire Court. I'm just here to ask, we come through a cold spell and they opened up a shelter, cold shelter, you know. And Sheltered Inc. did a remarkable job. They complimented us on what we did. I'm a board member of Sheltered Inc. on what we did, but no one else recognized what we've been doing for Springfield for the last 35 years. So I'm saying to you, if other people can recognize what we do, how come you commissioners, city managers can't help us with the funds that we need, that we've been doing in this city for a long time, but you bring somebody else from outside to do what we've been doing? You have executive in, it's only half full. You're losing people there. There's a lot of things going on with this homeless situation that you're not addressing. And the people that could address it, you're not letting them help and do what's necessary. So I'm asking you to look up, go to Sheltered Inc., ask questions, and find out why you're not letting them do what they've been doing. You tell them why. They need to know why you're not helping them do what they've been doing all this time. But the people we help can come back and compliment us for what we do. But no remark from the city helping us. So that's all I'm here to say. You commissioners, as I told you before, you are representatives of the city. If you can't do that job, don't stand in that position. Get out of the way. Let somebody focus on what's necessary in this community. Be good to your neighbor.
Hey. Really don't.
2 questions. Otis, have you gone to the county commission, since they are the body that raised the issue about Shelter Inc.? It was not the city, it was the county.
The county did one thing, and the city followed suit with the county. They didn't find out. There's no proof been proven yet that we did anything wrong. The county took funds away. City commissioners said, but okay, money a month before that, and they took it away because of what somebody else done.
Well, I'm just suggesting to you that you need to pursue this with the county, because
we've already pursued it with the county. We're pursuing it with the city too. And no substantiated findings have been found against us, but everything has been said against.
Okay. The other thing I want to say is we have been very busy on housing, very busy on housing. Over the last 5 years, we've done more in housing area than we've done in the previous 50 years. So I take exception to the statement that we've done nothing on housing. We've adopted ordinance after ordinance and have strengthened code enforcement and expanded the staff. So I just had to say the comment about doing nothing on housing is in error. Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
For the purpose of
For the
personnel.
purpose of personnel.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?